Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. Myself Rishwana Barveen. Here in this presentation, I would like to give you an overview of satellite imagery analysis using deep learning. And I am along with my friends Sashmita Parveen and Soundarya. We are pursuing our undergraduation in the stream of Electronics and Communication Engineering at NPR CET. Here in this presentation, we are going to see about satellite imagery analysis, satellite imagery segmentation, satellite imagery classification, deep learning and satellite imagery analysis, objective of our project, and then literature review. First, we are going to see about satellite imagery analysis. What is satellite imagery analysis? Satellite images are the images of the Earth collected by imaging satellites. The satellite imaging processing is an important field in research and development. It consists of the images of the Earth and satellite taken by means of artificial satellite. In satellite image processing, the photographs are taken in digital form and later it is processed by computer to extract the information. Statistical methods are applied to the digital images and after processing, the various discrete surfaces are identified by analyzing the pixel values. The satellite imagery is widely used to plan the infrastructure or to monitor the environmental condition or to detect the response of upcoming disasters. In broader terms, we can say that the satellite image processing is a kind of remote sensing, which works on pixel resolution to collect the coherent information. Next, we move on to the why satellite imagery analysis. There have been rapid advancement in remote sensing technology. Now, the satellite image acquisition takes place everywhere. So, the unprecedented amount of information are available in satellite images and the access to the data is very greater. So, all of this allows us to understand the future of AI more comprehensively and encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship. The enhanced ability to observe the Earth from a low orbit and geostationary satellite and a better spatial resolution of remote sensing data have led to the development of novel approaches for remote sensing image analysis and facilitating the extensive ground surface studies. Satellite image processing is one of the significant computational methods which finds application in military, agriculture, mining, forestry, climate change, natural disaster prevention, natural resource identification, geology, mapping, hydrology, and so forth. Here you can see the picture of the satellite images taken from the space, and this is a broader view of this image. And then we move on to the technique, which means a satellite image processing technique. There exist numerous methods and algorithms available for the satellite image processing. Some of them are pre-processing. The pre-processing is used to pre-process the image and then enhancement. It is used to enhance the image for provide better resolution. And then transformation, it is used to transform the image. And then future extraction, it is used to extract the future information from the image. And then segmentation, which converts a digital image, is broken into a various subgroup like image segment. And then fusion, in fusion, the gathering all the important information from the multiple images. And then change reduction, it is used to find changes in between two or more time period of images. And then compression, as the satellite data is of bigger size, it is used to minimize the size. And then classification, it categorizes a group of pixels based on the certain rules. And then future deduction, it is used to find the future in the images. Here in our project, we are going to deal about two things. First one is segmentation, next one is classification. And then we move on to the second set of slide, which is a satellite imagery segmentation. Image segmentation. Image segmentation is a process of partitioning a digital image into multiple image segments. The goal of the segmentation is to simplify or to change the representation of an image into something that is more meaningful and easier to analyze. Image segmentation is typically used to locate object boundaries like lines and curves in the images. More precisely, image segmentation is a process of assigning a label to every pixel in an image such that the pixel with the same label shares certain characteristics. The image segmentation is classified into three types. They are semantic segmentation, instant segmentation, and panoptic segmentation. First, we move on to the semantic segmentation. Here, the semantic segmentation is an approach directing for every pixel belonging to the class of the object. For example, we can say that when all the people in a figure are segmented as a one object and the background as another object. In the instant segmentation, it is an approach that identifies for every pixel a belonging to the instance of the object. It detects each distinct object of interest in the image. For example, when each person in a figure is segmented as an individual object. And then we move on to the panoptic segmentation. Here, the panoptic segmentation combines the instance and the semantic prediction such that all the pixels are assigned a class label and all the object instances are equivalently segmented. For example, the autonomous vehicle is an example for the panoptic segmentation, as the driving data naturally include distinct objects such as car as well as a region like roads and sidewalks. Here you can see the picture of a semantic segmentation, instance segmentation and panoptic segmentation. This is a ground truth picture. After the semantic segmentation, it is converted into like this. This is the instance segmentation picture. After the ground truth picture taken from the satellite, it is converted into the instance segmentation. Here the object is uniquely segmented, and then it is a panoptic segmentation. It combines a feature of the semantic segmentation and the instance segmentation. Now we move on to the third set of slide, which is a satellite imagery classification. The image classification is an important part of remote sensing, image analysis and pattern recognition. In some instances, the classification itself may be the object of the analysis. The satellite image classification is the most significant technique used in the remote sensing for the computerized study and the pattern recognition of satellite information, which is based on the diversity structure of the image that involve rigorous validation of a training sample depending on the used classification algorithm. The classification is used for various applications like crop monitoring. In crop monitoring, it is used to find the crop condition, crop type and crop production estimation. In soil mapping characteristics, it is used to find the soil type, soil erosion and soil moisture. In forest cover mapping, it is used to find the leaf density and canopy texture. In land cover change detection, it is used to find the seasonal and annual changes. In natural disaster assessment, it weather forecast, the flood, cyclone and heavy raining. Apart from that, it is also used to find water resources application, wetland mapping and environmental inventory, urban and regional planning, and similarly other object of interest can be observed using the remote sensing data. And then we move on to the type of image classification. The image classification are divided into three types: supervised classification, unsupervised classification, object-based image analysis. Supervised classification. Here, this method needs a training data to teach the classifier and recognize the instance of necessary detail in the image. It is divided into two types: parametric method and non-parametric method. In parametric method, it uses the algebraic method for assigning to classes. Bayesian and decision tree come under this category of supervised classification parametric method. And then for non-parametric method, it is used when the density function is not present. The k nearest neighbor and logical regression come under this category. Some of the algorithms are used in supervised classification: maximal likelihood, minimum distance, support vector machine, and parallel piped. And then we move on to this unsupervised classification. The unsupervised method can be hierarchical and partition clustering. The two basic steps for unsupervised classification are generate cluster and assign cluster. Some of the common image clustering algorithm are k-mean and isodata. Object-based image analysis. Object-based image classification groups a pixel into representative vector shape with size and geometry. The two common most segmentation algorithms used in OBIA are multi-resolution segmentation in e-cognition and segment mean shift in ArcGIS. Based on the shape, texture, spectral and geographic contrast, we can classify the object. Here you can see the ground truth picture obtained by satellite. After the supervised and unsupervised classification, it is converted into like this. It divides a vegetarian, urban, grassland, water bodies and barren land. And this is a picture of object-based image classification. Now I am going to hand over this presentation to my friend Sashmita.
Now we are going to see about deep learning and satellite imagery analysis. Deep learning. Now, deep learning is a subset of ML, which is a learning algorithm based on neural networks. And a neural network comprises neurons or units with a certain activation parameters. Let us theta that is equal to W by gamma. And then DL models are composed of many layers that transform input data to outputs while learning progressively higher level features. Layers between the input and output are often referred to as hidden layers. And then a neural network containing multiple hidden layers that is considered as a deep neural network. Hence this term is known as deep learning. And then commonly used DL models in satellite imagery analysis are supervised, that is convolutional neural networks, and recurrent neural networks, that is RNN, and then unsupervised, that is autoencoders and deep belief network models. And then these are also including recently popular generative adversarial networks, that is GAN model. And then convolutional neural networks. CNN is one of the most extensively used DL models, and it was originally designed to process data in the form of multiple arrays. Because of this characteristics, it is well suited for processing multi-band remote sensing image data in which pixels are arranged regularly. And then CNN is a stratified architecture which is comprised of convolutional layer and nonlinear layer and then also pooling layer. It transforms input to an output class and recognized hierarchically. And then recurrent neural network. As an alternative, widely used supervised learning model, the RNN model was traditionally used for a discrete sequence analysis. And then in an RNN, the input and output data can be of varying length. Therefore, certain tasks that involve sequential inputs, such as speech and language processing, often benefit more than RNN. And then deep belief network, that is DBN. So it is a probabilistic generative model made up of multiple layers of hidden units and then a composition of simple learning modules that contributes to each layer. A DBN can be used generatively to pretend a DNN by using the learned DBN weights as the initial DNN weights. And then autoencoders, that is AE. Autoencoders are designed to learn a compressed and distributed dataset representation. That is, the number of hidden units in one hidden layer is smaller than compared with the input or the output, and this is the most important feature of AE. Therefore, AE can accomplish the purpose of data compression and dimensionality reduction through one hidden layer. Hence, these are almost mostly used for the processing of feature hierarchically. And then GAN, Generative Adversarial Network. Generative adversarial network have recently become a very popular category of unsupervised DL models. The GAN contains a system of two networks contesting with each other, a generative network and discriminative network. First, the generative network learns to map from a latent space to a particular data distribution of internet, while the discriminative network discriminates between the real data and then the generated data produced by the generative network. And then the target of training the generative network is to fool the discriminative network by producing examples that appear realistic, that have the true data distribution. And then now we are going to see about why we are moving to deep learning in satellite imagery analysis. First, manual human analysis. Satellite image analysis and interpretation formed by human imagery analysis are a very costly affair, and then using machine language. Several ML techniques have contributed to reveal the insights of the data provided by satellites orbiting Earth. It has to an integral part of every step involved in processing satellite data, from pre-processing to decision making. It shows expansion of information domain, that is revealing the facts hidden inside as we process the data from acquisition to decision and policy making to analysis. And then ML models are able to recognize man-made structures in a satellite image as well as airplanes parked at an airport. And then using ML recent trends. And then satellite imagery analysis are done by some of the recent trends in ML. Some of them are manifold learning, semi-supervised, transfer learning, active learning, and then structured learning. There are some limitations of using ML in remote sensing, and some of them are it is lacking in representation of large and complex modules for the systems not linear in nature, and it is unable to handle large volumes of data. It is difficult to learn hierarchical features and generalize, and then lack of training data and use of domain knowledge, compatibility to high performance computing architectures, and then accuracy in prediction, forecasting, and then classification, address optimization, and then scalability and portability. The issues with almost all the methods can be addressed by making use of the many intermediate layers that can take care of signature extraction automatically, and also capability of learning from a large data set. Secondly, to deal with time series data, a memory based architecture is required to be used. These issues have drawn attention of the researchers to move on to the area well known as deep learning, which eliminate the human intervention for feature extraction, making it robust and easy to use for complex applications in satellite data processing. Then the introduction of DL techniques into semantic segmentation improved segmentation accuracy. This further promoted the area and the increasingly better results lead to broad application of approaches in commercial products. And then we are going to see about the objective of a project. Our objective is to improve the accuracy percentage for satellite imagery analysis, that is both segmentation and classification, by using deep learning system. Now we are going to see about our literature review. For satellite image segmentation, deep neural networks and in particular CNN have revolutionized the area of image classification, leading to deeper and deeper architecture. This became possible through algorithmic advances as using rectified linear units, and this avoid vanishing of the gradient during training as well as implementing convolutional and pooling layers. And then using convolutional filters that only focus on small portions of the image and are moved over the whole image allows to learn subsequently more and more abstract structures and invariances as images. Learning becomes efficient through weight sharing and the whole network can be trained in an end-to-end fashion. And then together with the pooling layers, each deeper layer successively broadens. This step-by-step abstraction helps to resolve invariances as translations of object and support classification. However, this abstraction loses resolution and fine details of structure. And then CFCN, that is fully convolution network. It can be applied of images of many dimensions. It is using a convolutional network architecture which lead to nice and has advantage that it can be trained in an end-to-end fashion. So it became approach for semantic segmentation. And then FCN addressed the disadvantage in DNN by introducing skip connections. Skip connections provide information from earlier layers in the processing sequence that operate on a more fine-grained resolution. And then this idea of skip connections has been further refined in unit type architecture and has in general been found to be quite effective. Unit is an improvement of FCN and constituted of a symmetric arrangement of a contractive and an expansive path. The introduction of local information on every level of detail lead to much improved results. It yield high precision prediction. Therefore, this shows that UNet can also be a good model for segmentation on satellite images. After that, they introduced residual blocks that added further skip connections inside each block. As a further step, they applied two dense blocks. In each of the streams, they were connected by residual connection. This provided further state-of-the-art results. Downsampling in the downstream aims at increasing the receptive field and taking more contrast into account. But this increase comes with a reduced spatial resolution. As an alternative, dilated convolutions as well as increase the receptive field without reducing spatial resolution. A convolutional filter is built. As a result, such layers allow to derive contextual information at multiple scales without losing resolution. Dilated convolutions tend to produce gridding artifacts. As an alternative, fast FCN was developed. This showed to be more efficient and still produced good results. And then Deep Lab applied conditional random fields in a post-processing step which produced better outlines of objects, but it was found that such an explicit step can become unnecessary and appeared not helpful when sufficient detail was already trained into the DNN. Others have successfully integrated CRFs into training of the whole system. And then regional proposed based methods like faster RCNN and mask RCNN follow a different type of approach which consists of multiple stages. First, regions of the input image are identified and bounding boxes for possible objects are proposed. In faster, RCNN, a region proposal network, was introduced as a form of FCN. Secondly, features are extracted for each of these bounding boxes. In faster, RCNN was realized quite efficiently as both stages can share features that are detected using convolutional layers. In mask RCNN, a third step is applied, in which the same way as in a FCN, but it is used for detailed pixel-wise prediction of task tables. And then mask or CNN found effective in satellite imagery analysis as it provides higher accuracy of map 90%. And then by this analysis regarding the effectiveness of mask or CNN and unit in satellite image segmentation, we are gonna use mask or CNN and unit to bring about the remarkable advances by improving the accuracy percentage in the area of segmentation on satellite imagery analysis.
For satellite image classification, first, researcher used principal component analysis to reduce data redundancy and then trained a self-organizing network to classify Landsat satellite images, which outperformed the maximum likelihood method. Later, they show the potential of DL for hyperspectral data classification with a hybrid framework with include dual, logistic recognition and PCA-SCAT. Autoencoders were used in a DL framework to extract high-level features. And then some of them used to deep belief network for remote sensing image classification and experimentally demonstrate the effectiveness of the model. After that, they demonstrate the potential of CNNs for LOLC classification. They actively selected training sample at each iteration with DL for a better performance. The scarcity of labeled data was tackled by implementing data augmentation techniques. Furthermore, some researchers improve the generalization capability and performance by combining deep CNN and multi-scale feature fusion. Some of them also propose the Sinks classification method based on a deep random scale structured CNN. Another contrained with remote sensing images was presence of cynic variability, which limited the classification performance. Of transfer learning was a study containing both spatial and channel attention, leading to better performance. Later one researcher came up with an enhanced classification method involving the recurrent neural network along with the random forest for LULC. Another approach with an attention mechanism was studied based on the pre-trained efficiently D3 CNN. They tested it on 6 popular LULC datasets and demonstrated its capability to in remote sensing scenes classification task. Some of them proposed a specific fine-tuned strategy which were better than CNN for aerial image classification. One researcher proposed a robust classification score method for dedicating adversarial example in DNN that does not innovate any additional process such as changing classifier for modifying input data. One observed that it adheres to trained CNNs with a smaller dataset, and next one observed that feature learned by the layer for different datasets show common behavior. Convolution operator from the initial layer learn the general characteristics, and towards the final layer there is a transaction to future more specific to dataset on which the model is trained. These general and specific CNN layer feature transition have led the development. As a result, the feature learned by the CNN model as a primary job were employed for an unrelated secondary task is transferred learning. One experimental with a TL technique that outperform of all the exhibiting baseline model by using neural architecture search network mobile as a future descriptor and also introduce a loss function that contribute to performance. In the context, LULC classification of Eurostat dataset creator used GoogleNet and ResNet 50 architectures with different band combination. They found that ResNet 50, the RGP band, achieved the best accuracy compared to the GoogleNet with the RGP bands and ResNet 50 with a short wave infrared and color infrared combination. The deep discriminative representation learning with attention map method obtaining the highest accuracy of 98.74% using RGP band. Finally, one tried out two approaches for improving accuracy using Eurostat dataset. In the first approach, the 13 spectral band of Sentinel-2 were used for feature extraction, producing 98.78% accuracy. In second approach, 13 spectral feature band Sentinel-2 along the calculated such a vegetation index based on red edge, normalized near infrared and blue ratio were used for the future extraction, resulting in an accuracy 99.58%. By this analysis recording the effectiveness of deep transfer learning in satellite image classification were done using VGG16 and wide ResNet 50 to bring about the remarkable advances by improving the accuracy percentage in the area of classification on the satellite imagery analysis.